Hello guys, Jacob Linder from Team the New Matrix here. I'm here for do my deck profile for my fun deck Megacolony. For the starter, I played Lava Mutant Giraffa, so we run the Giraffa ride chain just for the consistency's sake, and because the Great Through 2 has one of the best on Vanguard abilities in the game. Really good ride chain. If you ride the grade 1 over it, get a free search. Not much to say, +1. We'll get more into it when I get to the grade 1s. For the triggers, we run 4 wheels, of course, really necessary. 4 draws. You don't have any more draws right now, so that's really good. You need a little more draw power. And then 8 crates, just for putting a lot of pressure on the opponent, and it's better in the stance in this deck. You need to do a lot of damage quickly if you're gonna win with this deck. Yes, over to grade 1s. We run 4 of the grade 1 Giraffa. Really good effect. If you ride over the starter, you get to search for a grade 2. If you call it the rear guard, you can discard a grade 3 to get the grade 3 from the deck of the ride chain, of course. Really good to feed out the deck and get it. Does you don't have to draw into the grade 3 late in the game when you don't really want them in hand. Really good. Then we play 2 Stealth Millipede. Really good card. 10k boosted to Vanguard if all your opponents are rested, and they often is. If opponents are not resting a unit, he's just limiting his own attack power, and that's just stupid. So you often get this effect off. Really good card. Second, we run 2 Megacolony Battler B. Really good card. Put a lot of pressure on the opponent, because if they hit the Vanguard when this card is boost something, you got to counter +1 and stun a unit. When I say stun, I mean they cannot stand that unit the next turn. It's really good. You limit the power they're attacking for, and if you know what you're gonna stun beforehand or take the right card, it can really fuck up the game for them. Then we run 3 AK Beater. Would like to run 4, but you don't really find a space for it. You really need strong rear guards, because this deck doesn't attack for much, so they are needed, but it's hard to find any spots for them. Then we run the best card in the game, 4 Perfect Guards. I really need it in this meta, in all metas I think. Even if they clog up your hand sometimes, I prefer they do that, and then I don't have them at all, or I see 2 in damage zone and doesn't have the third in hand. Just it's more consistent to have 4, I think, but it's personal preference. So over to the grade 2s, we run 3 of grade 2 Giraffas. Really good card in the Vanguard zone. Has one of the best on hit abilities in the game. If it hits the Vanguard when it's grade 2, you get, for no cost at all, stun one of the opponent's rear guards, and that's really good in early game, because you get a lot easier to guard, and if you get a trigger, maybe his rear guns doesn't come through without the boost that you stunned. So it's really good. Of course, it's just a 9k on the rear guards, but if I don't, if I haven't have them, I'm often just using them as a guard, not to call forth. You have some better soldiers in the deck. Then you run 2 tanky beaters. You back up ride if you doesn't ride the Giraffa. Maybe bump up it to 4, maybe not, because of the next card I gonna show you. But really good, get you to high numbers. Then we have 2 Toxic Troopers. Really good card. Put a lot of pressure because it's of its effect that the opponent cannot intercept. Of course, he's just 9k, and that's is so in this segment where you doesn't have any that many strong boosters, but with the effect and maybe a trigger is really dangerous for the opponent, especially for the rear guards. Then we run 4 tail rows. Really good card if all of your opponent's rear guards are rested. He gets another 3k, so he's a 11k attacker. Of course, he have the problem that he's a 8k on your turn. That's really easy to pick off from for the vanguard, but that's your opponent. But that's why you run 4 of him. Really good card. Need it for the power. Then to the big boys in the grade 3s, you run 3 evil Giraffas. Doesn't need more. Can search them out if you discard any grade 3s, just to thin out the deck. It's not your main vanguard. It's a good backup, but you doesn't use his effect. You're only riding for the 11k if you have the ride chain in. His effect is counterblast 2, destroy 2 of your grid 1s to destroy 2 of his. So it's equal, but in this deck when you really need your grid 1s, so I don't use his effect at all. He's just a filler until you get this bad boy. You run 4 evil armor Master Beetle or something. Really good card, 11k base. Got a really good limit break where you counterblast 3. That's really too much, but you get to stun 2 of the opponent's rear guards, and that's really good. If you're going to the late game, you don't have so much card in hand. You can really limit your opponent's attack the next turn by stunning the vanguard's rear booster and maybe a Palamedes booster or something like that, just to stop him in his tracks, so he can survive another turn and then hopefully end the game. Really good defensive and a really good card overall. I really like this deck. It's a fun deck to play, and yeah, it's not the best, but it can win at almost any deck, and I like that. So, bye.